Good evening, everyone. This is economic lecture. Makata Thursday ko. Yam kuye thagat tabo. Okay, let's start with macroeconomics today. Macroeconomics take how ko. Macroeconomics. Okay, we have mamang da kweda. Kanu gi mata microeconomics ana mana dil tawgre. Globe supply se explain it tawdri but ngasi khar explain tawngge ko. Wherever there is a chance ko. So macroeconomics is na kuigi kaino na yeng bado economy in a larger perspective telescopic view yeng bado bukana macroeconomics na high ko. Overall economic activity of the country ko tigan tay ko. And then akoy na macroeconomics na matam da macroeconomics se akoy na two children like there are two children in the economy. The first one is the consumer and the second is the producer. Okay, and then government acts as a parent of the economy with four broad objectives which is economic growth, low level of unemployment, low and stable inflation rate, and equitable distribution of income ko. Sigi both ngasagi objective se sigi objective mari se sis na ko na government ki mathong ni hata economy stage tamana as a parent he has the responsibility to act upon to fulfill these objectives ko. Economic growth hega the output hengat pa, and then the GDP se hengalak pa dubu akona economic growth na high ni ko. Low level of unemployment है कि unemployment की rate से मन name ना लाई बा कोई सीधा natural rate of unemployment का लाई को. So our aim is to be at the asagi natural rate of unemployment to adu yung na bahon na ba, and then low and stable inflation rate ko. Inflation है से पोचा इतांग बगी कहीं वो से चांग से low and stable loy ba stable loy na dum लाई बा and then low ko. Monetary policy committee ka le ko moi na hai se 2 to 4 si manungi range ta leiba ka na tumai le ko. We'll get to know this further on ko. And then equitable distribution of income asai gi concentration of wealth se leita na hona ba adai this is gi macroeconomic objective ka ja nasai gi si fulfill tong no hona with the tool ani le ko. We have two tools. One is asagi fiscal policy hai ma, monetary policy hai ma. Okay, now when we talk about economic macroeconomics na kun economy hai ga dine economy hai se kamaina function to ge hai ba kan si kamai na chi se kamai na how do we look economy in a very holistic manner ko yeng ba matam da a circular flow of income model henam le masita le diagram se. This is very important to understand economy ko. Sida gyan khamina se ko ham the household le ni firms ko assume now there must be assumption ko ge ceteris paribus ana concept of introduced with the microeconomics ta. What is that? Other things remaining constant ko atop the loima constant lay hai kan sida adugi assumption da yengaga form to wada kanoni hetare model ni na lobiro ko si cha household economy ama the household ga firm ga amaga lay na ham the lower sibo ko. There's an household and a firm ko moigi sigi income se kamaina flow toraga kamaina economy se function to ge this na explain to do ne ba ham ba ne household sidagi ne akoina labor p ni ba firm sida firm is a company ni ko company or anything akoi gi company obi and then ngasai gi firm hai di keno any business ko. Let's assume it that way. Labor p ga ni masigi labor p ni ko labor p ni mawanda for example this firm produces chips saba company ne na hire se ko mana labor p ni ba labor se ka doge hekan sida ngasai gi potato se akoi na cham thoga phajana slice toraga adagi tauraga package toraga yon doi ne ba that kaino ge khogi thabak se that is known as labor ko. labor gi in return da khoi factors of production resources na tam gi dana resources ta ka kari no kan factors of production ni ko labor is also a factor of production ko mana firm sina wages na pirakani ba in paisa na pirakani for example 100 rupees ko let's assume this to be 100 rupees and then 100 rupees later maunda and this person wants to eat chips ko he is hungry, he wants to eat chips, so the firm sells the product that is the chips to this person, to this household ko chips to yole chips to 100 rupees p and khala se ba so this costs 100 rupees, so he has 100 rupees from the wages earned by providing the factor ngasai gi kaino gi factor of production gi labor ama component ama labor pi ba matang sa ista ma lupa chama le ma lupa chama sina ma the product to he bought the product ko when he bought the product there must be some money that he pays ko which is 100 rupees 100 rupees ko sida ngasai gi 100 rupees pay to matanda firm gi kano si so magi income si so 100 rupees oi doine ba likewise in an economy money flows in such a circular manner ko from firms to households to the firm again by exchanging the products ko masiki markets where the labor and wages where the factors of production are being exchanged ko it may be in terms of wages, interest, profit and rent WIPR wage, interest, profit and rent ki kaino se masige exchange dai sida labor ko na land capital labor adai di entrepreneurship provide toraga earn to basigi factor of production gi market sibo ko na factor market ena ko wi ko this is known as factor market sina goods ki market goods and services market ni ko goods market ni okay sigi exchange to bom sai sina goods market ni si sina factor market ni jam ta sibo so circular ngasai gi isumaina sigi income si desta aha magi model sina ko ni khangre madu di circular flow of money se income se layena money ke income ga se do manar ko ni ko I am using it interchangeably ko here let's understand this ngasai gi sida sigi points ngasai gi lupa chama se he earned 100 rupees ko the firm has 100 rupees the household has 100 rupees so he was planning to buy a product from the firm at the same time magi market sida ne international market tagi chips ama chips how women su phange international market tagi if the household buys this international market tagi chips se lupa kun pi and mana lai de ba what is this is import ko akon import to void ne ba ko import to ragadi what happens to the flow of money this is ngasai gi chat ki boy do ne ba ko leakages hai to sida leakages hai this would be in the circle of ngasai gi flow of income ko model imports is considered to be leakages from the circular flow okay and savings is also leakages masijo leakages amne ba ko likewise kyan tari ba sibo adagi sida household na to government the tax p ni mana to tax p ni ba ko taxes are also leakages from the circular flow ko so minus si sina it is a more realistic ngasai gi model ne ba sina more realistic oi hetare leakages and injections mayam lakani sida imports to organa leakages ni export to organa apoina export to orgadi paisa changak to ne ba sigi circular model sida ista for example this firm sells his chips to the international market so this is known as export in return he gets money ko so this is injection to the circular flow of money ko to the economy ko aduna sumaina si lai hetare de bank to ko ne saving to matam da ista saving to this is leakages from the akoi gi circular flow of money ko leakages oi adu banks na sumuk loans and investments p ko firms to p household ko so p ko but this is also an injection like this economic functions ko circular flow of money in an economy ngeng si sina hambada ne household firm later hambada factor of production se exchange tore household factor of production p ko in return he get wages rent interest profit WIPR se wages interest rent and profit se mase kaino household la phang doini household la phang matum da mana goods and services mana kaino tarok tani provide tarokani in return he pays ko expenditure on goods and services ko sigi minus sigi model se this circular flow model is the basis of everything that we study in economy ko economy study to is sigi basis that everything GDP calculation happens in this manner, and then how government spends, what are the drawbacks in the economy, everything would be learned from this circular flow of money in an economy ko in terms of not in just terms of okay academics nga sigi UPSC gi level exam gi study to bukhang natana ko economy is a function to e kamaina perform to ri kaida what lige kaida kaina sothari kaida na kaina well perform to ri have to sigi circular flow model sidagi basis sidagi loi khangma ngam doine ba ko si leire adai dina sigi circular flow model sidagi na akoina national income se hotoine ba national income hotoine se kamaina hotoino he kan sidai sna ita akoina 1 2 3 4 ne kano to ko factors of production provide to matam dai sta wages and interest wage interest rent and profit p doine ba ko this is an income ko income mamana process sigi basis sidagi na households akoi India da leiba household mayam sigi income se wages rent interest and profit si sing se loi tinjin na raga ne phangba khoi gi kano se income jibo khoi na national income maina hai ba ko yan ta bisibo national income maina hai ba adubu akoi gi sigi method se if we measure the national income on the basis of wage rate and interest ko wage rate rent interest and profit ko sigi basis da akoina calculate roga this is known as income method ko ya ta bisibo factor market tagi akoina phangba akoi gi figures we using the ngasai gi sigi income ki kano si sina gi income method ni adagi dina sigi 3 sa goods and services produce hai se kaino goods and services produce hai output ni ko production du ni ba si ma produce to re ha ba du khang do ni economy sida form sing sina kayam na goods and services kayam yam produce to re ge ha ba do this ngasai gi total ngasai goods and services produced in the country ko country oi do ni ko singa sai ko ta me circular flow model in pretext of this being a country sigi perspective pe yeng bani ko smane yeng ba se ko na goods and services produce sidai sina na koi production method na high ko or output method so high production method so high 3 gi base number 3 is the yeng agadi that is goods and services produced all the goods and services produced in the country by the firms ko ade the expenditure on goods and services how much are the household all the household spending on expenditure or the spending on the goods and services this method is known as expenditure method ko yan ta basibo akoi measuring the national income hot possible national income accounting and high ko there are 3 measures ko income method output method or production method or expenditure method ahum le ko akoi gi national income se si ga national output siga aduga national expenditure da chamana ni ba sigi sida phangba figure se figure siga sida phangba figure siga loi mana ni ba this is the model of circular flow of money ko everything will be same ko akoina income method the output method expenditure method any method sina matamda the figures would be same yan ta bisibo akoi gina okay macroeconomics ko concept khang je bang si se aggregate demand what is this aggregate demand kano economics aggregate hai the total hai bani ko nixing bero si total hai bani ko total spendings on all goods and services in a period of time at a given price level sisibo aggregate demand hai do ni demand apun budo economy sigi apun ba demand do ko aggregate demand na hai ba ko this is the summation of all private demand ko what are the components of aggregate demand is ke yaoge he kan the individuals which is the households ko consumption of goods and services household na consumption of goods and services tori ba consumption do madu mayam do apun budu ba koina it's one component of the aggregate demand ko in economics study ne consumption hai sa koina nang doctor the lying ba ko doctor lying ga my service law was this is also consumption in economics we know this by the akoi gi nomenclature as consumption na lo hai do ni ba ko kya ta bisibo ꯑꯗꯩꯅꯦ firms spends on new capital capital ꯂꯩꯖꯦ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯅ ꯀꯩꯅꯣ ꯑꯣꯏꯀꯥꯟꯁꯤꯗ future stream of benefit ꯀꯤ ꯋꯥꯈꯟꯗ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯅ expand ꯇꯧꯕꯗꯨꯕꯨ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯅ capital expenditure ꯍꯥꯏꯅ ꯍꯥꯏ capital ꯗ invest ꯇꯧꯕ ꯀꯥꯏꯅ ꯍꯥꯏꯅꯩꯁꯦ ꯁꯤꯁꯤꯅꯦꯕꯀꯣ government spending governmentꯁꯨ ꯌꯥꯝ spend ꯇꯧꯏꯀꯣ such as ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯒꯤ ꯊꯣꯡ ꯁꯥꯕ ꯁꯣꯔꯣꯛ ꯁꯥꯕ ꯃꯌꯥꯝ ꯑꯃ ꯇꯧꯔꯤꯅ government also spends a lot foreign market export and import ngasai hojiki explain tawgreko these are the components of aggregate demand what are the aggregate demands individual household consumption firms key spending on new capital government spendings and then foreign market such as export and imports ko si leire akogi ngasai gi expenditure aggregate demand se kamaina si kamaina kano tawge kan si daista sigzam maina c I g bracket x minus m sigi formula sidagi akoina aggregate demand fangeba this is also known as akoigi expenditure method to sina expenditure method ngasai pan gi bado si formula si na ko puthok tane ba ko si is na kaino kan consumption of household consumption mayam do pun bado adu oideni investments in a firm ge expenditures on capital ko on new capital government spending lai ko sidana sina export minus import si se ani si bokona net import and net export and high boko that which is export minus import yan tabu si bo example is a consumption of the household investment of the firms and the government spending and also we add the net export then we get aggregate demand ko this is also known this is also the expenditure method of national income accounting ko okay hujik sa short term macroeconomic equilibrium short term macroeconomic equilibrium se kaino khangmina se bako ngasai ge ai ge law of supply se aina explain to gidriba mang microeconomics ta kawre ado yare si matang se khang se bako si bo kana supply curve and high do ne si this is supply curve ko supply curve just mind yek se kai gino he kan se kai gino si bos mai yek pe adri se sidagi isi kai gino he kan se da supply is output ni production do ne bako production by firms ko production to matam this there are factors of production gi cost khar le ni ba for example nang na chips puthok matam da alu changro potato changi ko adai di labor changi ko adai di certain magi capital du chang ni ba capital chang do se kai no kan sidang asai gi nangi khang lai ri adai gi gas lai ri mayam do this is capital ko which helps in which ngasai gi capital hai che ngasai definition du ning ba ngasai production do the help tawgadi or ngasai goods and services produce to the help to kanu do adum du bukna kanu haina haiba ko adu sida smai ye pa yadri se kai gino he kan sida factors of production gi cost to there's a basic cost to produce the ngasai gi product ko so madu gi cost to bokhoina sida kanu to buni ko utpadu bu kai da we show this here the factors ngasai factors of production gi cost amadi lay aduna smai ye pa yadeba kya taru sibo graph ki sa sidagi 0 de lak tune ba si 0 sidagi 0 1 2 3 4 5 kana de sidai 0 1 2 3 4 5 6 kana som heng ki doine ba si som da chaling khai je heng ki doini som ka khat ling gai heng ka toine ba ko si lai re akoina na equilibrium he sa kaino he kan sitai sta this intersection point of supply curve and the demand curve ka supply curve ki intersection point sa si sibo khoina equilibrium hai na khai ba ko kaino da economics ta equilibrium hai se kaino kan sta akoi madudi happening jing je ba ko khoina mamangi lecture da tamgi ba matam da asai gi consumer utility pami producer na profit pami ko the government na magi thabak kaino tok doi ni kana laidana adumai chamana na market ta suna market ki invisible hand kind of market x upon ngasai gi x as an ngasai gi invisible hand mo na dum actor eba ngasai gi for example akoi gi si price level cha sida lay kan sida dina price level sida batara higher se ba si matam da magi demand cha this is demand ko output higher si demand ne ko demand cha aggregate demand cha sigi kano se kitang khak oidro as price decreases the demand increases ko kasagi inversely proportional on a habito ꯑꯗꯨꯃꯥꯏꯅ ꯁꯤꯒꯤ ꯑꯥꯏꯗꯤꯌꯥꯗꯣ ꯑꯦꯄ꯭ꯂꯥꯏ ꯇꯧꯕꯤꯌꯣꯕꯀꯣ ꯑꯣꯀꯦ ꯁꯤꯒꯤ ꯄꯣꯏꯟꯠꯁꯦ ꯏꯀ꯭ꯋꯤꯂꯤꯕ꯭ꯔꯝ ꯍꯥꯏꯕ ꯄꯣꯏꯟꯠꯁꯤꯅ ꯀꯩꯅꯣ ꯑꯣꯏꯀꯥꯟꯁꯤꯗ ꯁꯄ꯭ꯂꯥꯏꯌꯔꯗꯣ ꯃꯥꯒꯤ ꯒꯨꯗꯁ ꯃꯌꯥꯝꯗꯣ ꯂꯣꯏꯅꯃꯛ ꯌꯣꯟꯕꯒꯤ ꯉꯝꯕꯒꯤ ꯔꯦꯠꯇꯣ ꯑꯗꯨꯕꯨ ꯑꯣꯏꯗꯣꯏꯅꯦꯕꯀꯣ ꯃꯥꯔꯀꯦꯠ ꯑꯃꯗꯅꯦ ꯃꯥꯒꯤ price where the consumers are also happy and the producers are also happy. That point is known as equilibrium ko. Here we output hena later sida then aggregate supply and then aggregate demand. Government ki economy ki kano sida macroeconomics ki kano sida aggregate supply apunba supply duga apunba demand duga gi intersection point. This is known as equilibrium ko. Short run na isina kaino kan sita short run sida isna other factors of production sa for example akoina kaino ama puthok matam da factors of production gi natural lane gi perspective to yeng se alu ji tangkhala ga di nasai gi there would be increase in the nasai gi kaino se price level ko price level hingalak to ne ba ngasai product se ngasai product to gi raw material to tanga agati likewise ko short run macroeconomics na other factors ko ngasai gi atopa factors of production atopa kaino sing du da hengalak padagi price level hengalak pagi ngasai gi microeconomic short run macroeconomic equilibrium is a c oi do ne ba yan tar long run ngasai gi long run ngasai gi sig aggregate kaino se si mo yeng se ba ko sina long short run macroeconomic equilibrium ko sina long run macroeconomic equilibrium oi dene ko sina kaino hai kan sida ista wages it's very sticky magi pra kaino sa other inflation tholokpa matam da adopa factors of production raw material tangkhalakpa matam da ne wages sidi yam sticky oi madi respond ka tok debe it sticks on the ngasai gi hingatte maji it sticks on the ngasai gi hana leramba mafam du da tum anam stick tor leba it responds very late ko ngasai gi akhoi gi cc gi kano se long run sidana kain kari hai ge kan sidana ne ngasai gi akhoi gi wages ki matang do adu de hingalak pado price in eventually in economics eventually is in the long run have ba in long run when the ngasai gi price of the wages to hengalakpa matam da madugi account torokpa matam do madu wakhana long run kaino haido ne bako kyan taru sibo sidan let's understand this long run macroeconomic equilibrium hai sa si khangmina se ba long run macroeconomic equilibrium hai sa si oi de ne bako akoina production possibility ka fainam tam ge ko ningsing e process this is the asagi maximum output that can be produced in the market ko in the country country basis country basis ko this is the maximum output that can be produced in an economy ko maximum output se kamaina production possibility ka ta khone khangre madudi maximum output se kamaina puthoke maximum output se kamaina puthoke have matam da ista efficiency le kan du puthok pangami ko employment we efficient work pa matam da adai di employment to ngasai gi employee do loima present oi ba matam adai gi yam efficient oi kan chi daista this is the best case scenario of the factors of production madu matam da de tho output to bo khoina long run macroeconomic equilibrium na high ba ko this is known as macroeconomic kaino sa sina high re adu da hojiki akoina case 1 si daista sigi demand se this is the aggregate demand. This is the aggregate supply ko. This is the long run macroeconomic equilibrium ko. This is the long run macroeconomic equilibrium. Sigi gap se the economy is functioning. Ngasai gi inside the ngasai gi akoi gi potential GDP do adu gi manung da function tawri ba sigi gap se aseng badi kaino se akoi gi output se sida leigadabani sigi keno sida leigadabani but in the economy now is functioning inside the keno se out ngasai inside the potential GDP ko potential GDP manung da function taweba Sigi situation si bokoi recessionary gap hena kaweba. Amount of output that four components wants to buy are less than the potential output. Potential output sidagi na sina handaraga leibase. Si bokoi recessionary gap hena kawe. My definition to koi mo tamakini boko. Inflationary gap hai jana kai no kan long ngas potential GDP si potential output sidagi head duoga na function to kan sidai there's an inflationary gap ko. Yan tabar si bo. Masi se short term macroeconomic si gyan tabro. Explain to buta kitang jumble to gyan tadre. Leave me a comment ko gyan tadre ka di comment to biro mo. I am explain to okay ko hojiki to. I don't know how I've explained ko. I ju gyan ta hobtre kamay na taram gadro taram mo I ju gyan tadre. Okay. Hoji national income accounting tamasi ko. National income accounting है national income है total output of the country do ये बदल नहीं बको अकोई ना तारा मनी GDP NDP GNP NNP का ना gross domestic product national domestic product अदेगी दी gross national product अदेगी दी net national product का ना इसमें तारा मनी but these are all अकोई की national income की कैनो ngak तने बा national income count तो रिबा कैनो दूँ ngak तने बको Okay. Ako na masita kangre the gross net national kan yaw is kaino hay kan the gross is kaino hay kan sita gross is the total ko total hierarchy total output ne ko sida na ako gross sida gina net la ke raga dina depreciation khaido kadaba depreciation cha minus to ga gross sida gina depreciation de khaido ra kan the net la kan ni ko yan ta bo gross domestic product GDP sidagi na depreciation khaido khradi na depreciation khaido khradi kai lakani net domestic product lakani ba depreciation se kai noi kan data it's ngasai gi akoi gi prolong use to ko matam da wear and tear thokpa magi value 100 to for example if we are using a car for a long time then its value decreases. This is known as depreciation ko yan tarbo sibo ako gross tagi net la ke ga depreciation khai dok ge da bane ko adagi dina sida ko na GDP sida GNP sida kamai lak to rino sisna ako gina GDP sidagi and GNP da la ke ha ga dina sise NP5 nam le ko masi minus to ga da ba NP5 se kai no ka net factor income from abroad net factor income from abroad yan taro sibo net factor income from abroad se kai no na yeng se ko what is this net factor income from abroad net factor income from abroad hay se as I get factor income from abroad I get factor income to abroad factor income to abroad define fita khai do kan net fifan phang ani bu ko this is kya no tok se for example India ne bisi se ko domestic India ni masida India da like foreigner khale rangani ba foreigner is earn to rangani ba ko he is doing some economic activity and he is earning from India and there would be also this is US harsi sida su Indian khale rangani masu US da thabak to raga masu paisa khara ta langani ba gyan ta ro si ba aduga ngasai US ki US citizen India da lai ba se sina US da paisa tha ge doine ba he will send some money his income would be sent back to the USA which is known as remittances ka jo haine ba ko adumaina kaino se GDP da gina NFIP net factor income from abroad that is akogi US citizen na India da gi tan ba paisa duga Indian citizen na US da gi talak pa paisa do ani je khaidok na raga phang ba value do it can be minus or plus ko madu du bo khoina kaino to ga GDP da gi plus to gani sorry plus to robo matung sta akoina GNP la kani ba ko it can be either ngasai gi OBI negative OBI adadagi positive OBI ba ko kyan tar ba sibo gross domestic tagi akoi national la ke ga na N55 je plus to wi ba ko okay si lai re adagi di akoi na NCRT da national income sa net national product at factor cost and a high ko. So what is this factor cost? Factor cost the market price ani labor ko. Factor cost na akoi factors of production ni cost to madu khaktang kano tawba adigi market price daina na akoi gi kano se net indirect taxes si hapsela kan sita plus to rakanda koina factor cost daista factor cost is net indirect taxes hapsela kan sita net indirect taxes se kaino indirect taxes minus subsidies ko subsidies provided by the government ko subsidies ko si chubo ko net indirect taxes high na high ko factor cost daista net indirect cost to tinjilaba matung daista koina market price la kani bu ko factor cost is na company ki price to company the production do ki price to adu boy de ni market price in where we buy ko akwen lay pochai ki price lay bedo mrp is so this is also market price ko kya tar bo okay factor cost la kre sine ke adegi di male re ko okay akoina national income say national income at market price gross domestic product at market price gross national product at market price OBI or factor cost OBI si factor cost OBI sigi derivation chalo khangre ko depreciation khai do kandana koina net lak pani net domestic product or national product national own ge kana nfifa do tinjin biba adudagi di factor cost tagi market price ta lake kandana koina net indirect taxes tinjin minus sigi mayam se gyan tar bo sibo gyan tare na dore ko okay sila koina personal income ying vector cost okay no GDP के definition tak hide ko GDP se kaino kan sita monetary value of all final goods and services produced within a territory ko in a given period of time, usually a year. See the definition, GDP की definition से शी नेबे को monetary value is the पैसा की value of all final को. What is this final? We'll get to know this ko. All final goods and services produced within a territory in a given period of time, usually a year. Okay, monetary value is all final goods है जैसे इन्होंने consider any goods and services produced over matam is the goods ये नगे बको सिदा still लमा still produced हो रहे still को still से final good lo. It can be a final good also, it can be an intermediate goods also. Still in a car se magadi. This car would be final good ko. Final goods or where it would be ready to be consumed by the consumers ko. Consumer to consume to we consumer do na madu ke process to labor do final goods and a high ko. Monetary value of all final goods produced within a territory in a given period of time, usually a year ko. Yan tar bo final goods see definition sa monetary value of all final goods and services produced within a territory में manung do ga dabne ko in a given period of time gyan tai ko si territory sa territory se kamina se ko ai khoi na india la ni india ge perspective tam se india ge map ame smaya india ni si se this is india ko islands payam lai ni si domestic territory sida produced over akoi gi any ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯒꯤ goods and services ꯇꯣ ꯃꯗꯨꯕꯨ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯅ ꯂꯣꯏꯅ ꯃꯥꯒꯤ monetary value ꯁꯤ ꯂꯣꯏꯅꯃꯛ count ꯇꯧꯅꯤꯕꯀꯣ ꯒ꯭ꯌꯥꯟ ꯇꯥꯕ꯭ꯔꯣ ꯁꯤꯕꯣ ꯑꯗꯨꯗꯒꯤ Indian territory ꯑꯁꯤ ꯂꯩꯔꯦ ꯑꯗꯨꯗꯒꯤꯅꯦ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥꯒꯤ embassies ꯃꯌꯥꯝ ꯑꯃ ꯂꯩꯇ꯭ꯔꯣ abroad ꯃꯗꯨꯁꯨ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥꯒꯤ ꯂꯦꯟ ꯍꯥꯏꯅ consider ꯇꯧꯗꯣꯏꯅꯦꯕꯀꯣ whatever is goods and services produced in the embassies of Japan, USA, anywhere in the world, in the Indian embassies, this is also Indian territory ko in GDP calculation dito loy counter kanibo ko kaya taro sibo adi exclusive economic zone hinam sulay si se tamdi tamakhini adubo habit akoi gi UN clause hinam lebo ko United Nations Convention on Law of the Sea na 200 nautical mile ko 200 nautical mile from the baseline se internet kaya da ko na tamma si tambadi baseline dagi 200 nautical miles se miles of sea ne but nautical miles se sidagi ne 200 nautical mile po se sigi manung da produce to bak khai se this would be considered to be part of the GDP yan ta ba sibo yare ko di GDP khangre okay adagi dinga sai gi factor cost hai sa factor cost hai factory ki price to ni haiba gate ki price to ni kai hainai ba ko gate price adubu factor cost sa akoi sum yeng pa matam da this is not the true price true gate ki price akoi gi factor gi nasai gi price to natte na direct tawraba matung dai sida akoi na basic price anam putho eba ko basic price hai je kai no hai kan sida ista factor cost dagi na factor cost dagi akoi na kai no khai dok pi ba production tax ka production subsidies ka sina plus tauba na minus tauba si kan sina ko na basic price phange bu ko basic price yan ta sibo to sida le ya ahamada na factor cost dagi basic price ta kamai la ke kamai la ka dagi hergadi akoi gi production tax masi tinjin biba adudagi production subsidy te khaidok piba madu matangda akoina basic price lakani ba basic price dagi akoi market price kamaina phangda dagi hergadi product tax production tax hai je kaino production ai production da tax to bodo for example akoi gi electricity provide tawraga production am to bodo electricity changi ko Maduki electricity consumption duda akoina tax lobodo that could be a production tax that could be termed as a production tax yan ta sibo adudagi electricity to subsidize to organ production subsidy oidoi ni bako government na okay nasagi pot ki price handana gi damakta ai nangonda electricity se subsidy rate subsidize to organ hongna pige adumaina haragadi this could be production subsidy ko production du the base toba production du the base toba sina product oidoi ni bako this is product to the akoina text over product the text over hergadi ngasai gi kyan ta bru product tax is indirect tax to buni ko adagi product to the subsidy I don't think I need to explain this kyan ta man khalle bu ko adagi ne sidagi market price dagi basic price ta lake hergadi sigi sign je onthok bi over minus product tax plus product subsidy minus sign je somda chat kera gana sigi sign je chatpio chatoi ne bu ko somda lak kera gana sign je onthoga sigi kaino se smai lak ko matam se phangani bu ko factor cost basic price le ko okay koina sida koina personal income personal income ai se kaino khamina je bu ko nasai national income le national income se koina NCRT da do NNP at factor cost ko this one kanon in high ko okay si se sidagi ne akoina certain component khara kano tong ni bu ko for example akoina corporate tax सिसे खाइदोक्तोइनेबको सिगी NNP सिदगी national income सिदगी ना corporate tax खाइदोनी which is around 25% ओइगुम तौबनेबको अदगिदी corporate tax अदगिदी undistributed profit undistributed profit खाइदोक्पिरनी दाइना अदुदगी net interest payment by household net interest payment by household ko net interest payment by household masi singi khaidoga na adudaga sidai sita we add transfer payment by government kyan tarbo national income sidagi na corporate tax khaidoni undistributed profit khaidoni adagi net indirect tax payment cha sisu khaidoni adudagi transfer payment by the government si plus to wiru matung sida personal income lakani personal income is all the money received by the household asagi transfer payment yauksilaga adu mayam dabu kene personal income mana haibu ko okay corporate tax karino undistributed profits na kaino net asagi interest payments na karino by household adagi transfer payments na karino as coming as corporate tax is this is the tax imposed by the government to the firms ko firms of corporate for production ko masibo khina corporate tax haina haiba ko sisno corporate tax ama si leire si khaidok pi gi doine ba ko undistributed profit hai kan the firm am leire company ama sitagi na company earns 100 rupees no kaino da chahi ma lupa chama talen khalasi sida lupa kun manga ma corporate tax pithokhrani ba ko khaidokhrani ba si ko lupa kun manga khai lupa kun nga ko kana lupa tara khaido calculation wai na ba corporate tax khaido matung de lupa 90 lei do ne ba ko here undistributed profit 90 sidagi na moina company gi da makta mapu da pi gi do ne ba si paisa se akoi si gi revenue si generate tore mapu da di khar pi do ne ba mapu da pi de kan sida akon undistributed profit se kai gumba firm sina kai gumba loss da lera kan sida hingat pa yana ba gi paisa khar di tham do ne that is known as undistributed profit sida is lupa tara ma ka hor se ba ko and then akoi gi masigi firm gi paisa se si national income ne consider tok do ne ko si aina hoje haiba model sida adagi din net indirect tax ngasagi net interest payment by household interest payment se net interest payment hai check and consider ista household sida kai gumba bank ta paisa thamam ga di ma interest card di phang ni dana interest card phang ni ade mana kai gumba loan normal ga di mana interest card thi ni ba phang ni ba magi kaino do interest tu ga mana thi ri ba interest tu ga madu khaidok nar matung da magi phangwa product to madu do adu bu kai akhone kaino haidoi ni ko madu khaidok pi doi ne ba sigi kaino sidagi national income sidagi sidi khaido ani re transfer payment by government hai sina transfer payment sina koi government na pi ba unemployment ngasagi allowance kumba adagi social security kaino kumba mayam pi ba government na su pi ba koi paisa mayam ma pi sa koi manarega thabaka torokan paisa pi like this is also transfer payment ko transfer payment se bokona plus to biba si kan sida kari phangge kan sida personal income phangge ba that is akoina personal income hai se kan wai kan sida akoi gi corporate tax and distributed profits and then net nasagi interest payment by the household and transfer payment pundilaga moi khaidoga pundilaga smaina phangba akoi income se makutta phangi ba akoi gi household sida leiri ba paisa se masibo akoina personal income maina hai ba ko adagi di personal disposable income maina nam lai sida na ne what is the difference personal income sina kai no way kan sida personal income sida gina just minus personal tax income tax khaidok piro ko aduga asagi miscellaneous payment non tax fine gumba sumba khaidok kan sida personal disposable income phangni ba akogi household or individual duna spend to ba yaba paisa do adu personal disposable income haido ni ba ko gyan ta brasibo gyan ta daga su leave me a comment I will try to explain it in a more simpler way ko ai topic se yaman bana loi mix up tor ba ai ka khangre du mayam na comment tobiramu ko aduga let's discuss. I'll make this more simpler ko. Okay, akoina national income accounting ama yeng se ko before kano se 2015 days dai ahama production method sijanarmi adigi NSO na National Sample Survey Organization na annual survey of industry and toromi 20,000 firms ki sampling toroga extrapolation toroga base year ki concept se explain to mal base year se akoina GDP hot pu matam da ne akoi gi nominal GDP haiba ma adigi di Tarbo nominal and real GDP. I think you've heard this right. Tarang ani khale. Constant GDP hai, sorry. This is inflation account of the book. This is inflation account of. Let's do one thing. Let's lecture. I'm Samuel Madong Male. I'll continue the lecture tomorrow.